Hi everyone, it's Marisa from bumblebeeapothecary.com, and today I'm going to bring you along as we go into week 3 of introducing solids to babies GAP style. I will have weeks 1 and 2 linked down below in case you haven't seen those yet and you want to see the beginning of this whole process. I am also creating a blog post that has all of this whole process in written form over on my website, and there will be a link down below to that as well once I have that up. So let's jump into week 3. So in the 3rd week, Dr. Natasha says to carry on with all the previous foods. So at this point, he's having his meat stock. We add some sauerkraut liquid to that each time that he has it. Amounts are gonna be a little bit individual, and she gives some guidelines for starting amounts, and we are a little bit more on the conservative side just because it feels like the right thing to do, and this will just have to be something that each person decides for themselves. If you want to start with as much probiotic food as she recommends, or if you know that your family kind of has a history of being more sensitive, then maybe not as much. So we are starting a little bit more on the conservative side. So he's getting about an ounce of meat stock a day right now. We add probably 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon maybe at this point. I think more like a 1/2 teaspoon of sauerkraut liquid. And then he's having his cooked vegetables that are pureed really well, cooked in meat stock with some animal fat added. Usually we've been adding some lamb tallow and a little tiny bit of cod liver oil, and then some probiotic liquid as well. Usually I'll add the whey to that. And then this week we are going to be adding cooked meats. So we're going to cook, I have the chicken from when I made the meat stock for him, so I'm going to be pulling the meat off of that. I'm also going to cook some chicken livers in some meat stock and then add those as well. If you get chicken with the organ meats included, then you can of course cook it all at once when you make the meat stock. But when we processed our own chickens, then we just had the chickens by themselves and then the organ meats in bigger bags of like livers and hearts and stuff. So that's why I'm doing it that way. Still works great. I'm just gonna, like I said, simmer it in some meat stock until the livers are cooked through, and then I'm gonna take my cooked chicken, including all the skin and the connective tissue and the fat and all of that good stuff, and then I'm going to puree that with the cooked chicken livers and some meat stock. And then he's going to start getting some of that whenever he has his little meals as well. And then she has some other guidelines. She talks about if your baby's on formula, keep replacing it with the soups and the vegetable puree and then the meat or the fish, and then gradually that's going to take the place of formula. And then she says if you're breastfeeding, then just carry on with that along with having the solid food. She is a big proponent of continuing nursing for a nice long time and not stopping that too early. And then she also talks about increasing the amount of yogurt and sour cream. So right now he's just been having the kefir whey, and so that's also another thing that I'm going to be doing, is starting to do the actual kefir itself rather than just the whey. And I talked about this in the last video, that that's a personal decision to start with the raw milk kefir with him instead of yogurt, and that's just something again that people will have to decide for themselves. I was comfortable with it. Kefir is a lot more powerful than yogurt, so if your family is not used to it, then I would start with yogurt like she says, but we mostly just drink kefir. I populate my body before he was born with it so that he was exposed to that when he went through the birth canal, and then I put it on myself regularly before he nurses, so he was used to kefir, and so that's why I went ahead and just started with that. But he's going to start having the kefir itself and then increasing that amount gradually up to 1 to 2 teaspoons each time he eats, and then working up to 1 teaspoon of the sauerkraut brine in his meat stock. And then also the last thing that we introduce in week 3 is ripe avocado. She says to start with a teaspoon added to the vegetable puree and then gradually increase the amount. And in the past I haven't mixed the avocado with the vegetable puree. I've just given them about a teaspoon in bites of little bits of avocado with a spoon, and then that seemed to work well. I just didn't feel like it was as appetizing to mix it all together, so I just gave the avocado on its own. So that is what we were doing. So that is week 3. During this time, we're also broadening the variety of fats. I'm going to start with some ghee and then gradually go to butter as well, so that you can have some of that, as well as rotating through the different fats like she talks about, so including the lamb tallow in there or beef tallow, and then the cod liver oil. And then for vegetables, keeping a bit of variety with that without going crazy and trying to do too much variety, because I don't need a ton of variety, just a bit is fine. So he does his carrots and onions, cauliflower, and then we're making some zucchini puree for him also. And then of course remembering to take all the peel off the zucchini and the seeds out, cooking that in meat stock and pureeing it. All right, I hope that you enjoyed coming along for week 3 of introducing solids to babies, GAP style. Be sure and check out that description box to links for my previous videos in this series, as well as my link to my whole written article outlining this whole process. Also check out that description box for links to free ebooks and other goodies. Make sure to stay tuned for the rest of this process in this series as well. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with anybody else who you think would find it helpful or interesting. And if you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I get out new videos every week on nourishing recipes and natural living. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.